Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome into Batter Up, part of the Sports Insanity Network, sponsored by Halpern's Cards and Collectibles. I am Mike, joined by Lawrence Patch-Man Lang Patchy. Happy Wednesday, my friend. How are you?
Happy Wednesday evening. It's about 10 o'clock here on the East Coast here on May 10th, 2023. Here for some good sports talks about baseball. I'm enjoying a nice, ice cream cone, preferably a drumstick that is white chocolate with fudge drumstick. Hashtag not a sponsor. Drumsticks, if you're listening, hey, join your ice cream right now while doing this podcast. Sponsor us. If you're listening.
Drumsticks, if you're listening, and we know that you are. You should make actual cones that are actual drumsticks that people could play drums with.
I agree with that. But, here at Talks in Baseball, I played a little baseball today in the forms of baseball darts with Big Al and Jeff Knapp. So shout out to those guys for a fun night. Even though we lost, it was still a great time. I went 4 for 6 with 2 RBIs. All my hits were singles. So, I kept going, just like my, love life. It's single right now. It's just single nights for me. So, but here to talk some baseball with my good pal here. So let's get to it.
Patch had a good time. I had a good time. The Mets finally won a damn game. Justin Verlander was excellent. So, but Patch is right. We are going to dive into the baseball. We're going to start with some news about expansion. And we've talked about expansion on the podcast before, but we have another city now in the mix. And that city is Orlando, Florida. Pat Williams, one of the co-founders of the Orlando Magic, would like to see a team be put there. He's part of the Orlando Dreamers baseball group, a group designed to get MLB to Orlando. So, according to Outkick, Williams said this regarding potential expansion to the city. We're ready, and I quote, "We're ready to be a Major League Baseball city, and a city isn't considered Major League unless it has baseball and the arts." Okay. Let's just take Orlando first, and then we could talk about other processes. Patch, I don't necessarily think Orlando's the best spot for baseball, necessarily when you look at attendance for the Rays and the Marlins, who already exist in Florida.
It's a weird situation with the state of Florida when it comes to baseball. Excuse me. The Rays do business when it comes to playoff time. The Rays then all the Rays fans come out, from the Ray tank, and they come into, Tropicana Field and visit the Rays for the playoffs. Other than that, they're lucky if they get, 15,000 people in that stadium. Miami, for, being a sports city, having the Heat, having the Dolphins, you think, okay, let's go to Miami's park and go support the Marlins. The Marlins really don't do much unless, like a good big name team comes in, like we'll use the Yankees as an example. I think maybe when the Mets come to town, it's when a good baseball team comes to town, everyone's like, screw it, we're going to go to a Marlins game tonight. Because, I might get a chance to see Mike Trout play, Shohei Ohtani, Aaron Judge, Max Scherzer or Verlander, if they're pitching, then it's, it's a destination, go out to a Marlins game. Florida just needs one baseball team. And, it's a coin flip between do you keep the Rays or you keep the Marlins? And to me, you keep the Rays. You ship the Marlins out and you just have one baseball team. And you know what? Maybe no major league teams. Maybe just have a minor league baseball team there. It's just like Florida just, I guess, isn't a baseball state, for lack of a better term, because they're only a baseball state when it comes time for playoffs if either the Rays or Marlins are in the playoffs. And more or less, it's been the Rays in recent memory that, are trying to pack their stadium. But even when they make the playoffs, they're not selling out their crowds. They're not selling out their stadium for a divisional series, a championship series. I mean, 12 years ago when they made the World Series, yes, they were selling out everything because it was a long time coming for the Rays. But now it's just like, all right, they're not even selling out, for playoffs.
The other thing for me, and I'm just looking up how far Orlando is from Tampa and Miami. It's about 3.5 hours from Miami. And from Tampa, it's about an hour 15. So here's the idea that the Rays have been looking for a new ballpark because the Trop is, I don't want to say it's a dump, but people have complained about the Trop for years. So why not move the Rays into the Orlando area then? If it's only an hour drive, I get it, the money will add up, but if you're not going to build them a new park in the St. Petersburg, Tampa area, and this is the best case scenario, you might as well do. The other thing about Orlando that's tricky is you have Disney there too. And I don't want to get all political on this because trust me, if I go off on a tangent about certain things, Patch won't be happy. The NADA sponsors won't be happy. The sponsors won't be happy. So you're going to put a ballpark near, I don't know if it's going to be near Disney or whatever, but you still have to account for Disney as well. So that's more tourists coming in. More people might go to a game for a couple of hours to see. I don't know. I think there's other places where we don't have baseball to where we could say, okay, that's a better city. I would prefer a team in Nashville. I think that's a better idea than putting a team in Orlando.
I still think I'm in favor of Montreal getting their
I am
baseball
too.
team.
Bring back the Expos.
If not Montreal, put another team somewhere in Canada.
Yeah, don't make the Blue Jays so lonely. But I mean, there are other places. The A's are going to go to Vegas. It looks like they got that deal done. It looks like. So, what about putting another team potentially in Oakland if they're willing to build a new stadium?
Honestly, I would pull the trigger finally. You know what? Let's give the great city of Buffalo a major league team. Yes, they got the AAA affiliate, Bisons, but give Buffalo a major league baseball team.
The one problem with that is if you start in March and it's still kind of frigid temperatures.
Build a dome stadium.
Well, I don't disagree. I think every new ballpark should be at least retractable roof.
Yeah, yes and no.
No, just because rainout should be a thing of the past, in my opinion.
I agree with that, but it's a nice sunny day. You have that roof open no matter what.
Oh, I know that's why I would retract it. Have a retractable. So Nashville would be a good spot. I don't disagree with Buffalo, Montreal.
I guess you can put another team in Texas.
Yeah, Houston. The Rangers are basically in Dallas.
I mean, could you maybe do another team in New York City?
I wouldn't. I think I would lean Nashville or Montreal. Those would be my top two. If you want to go Buffalo, I'm okay with Buffalo. Only if they're called the Buffalo Buffaloes. that is what's necessary. But I don't like the idea of Orlando. I don't need a third team in Florida where the other two teams don't get the fan support I feel necessary, because you brought it up. The Rays really don't do well unless the Red Sox or the Yankees are in town. The Marlins, unless it's the Mets or the Phillies, even the Braves to an extent, they don't do great. So
I mean, I'll pose this question: how about if we keep the Rays and Marlins in Florida, just build it? It's a sad thing to say. Build a smaller stadium. Still have the aspects of a major league field, but instead of a 40,000 seat stadium, build a 25,000 seat stadium.
the one thing I would say about this, I'm not going to the Marlins. This is more centered about the Rays. Are people not going because of the Trop, or are they not going because they don't care? If you're from Tampa and you're listening, let us know, because that something I want to. A little bit of basketball news. The Knicks did hold on, Patch. So the Knicks now trail the Heat 3-2 in their best of 7 in the Eastern Conference semifinals. Jalen Brunson, 38 points. Knicks won by 9. So I'm not sure if I've lost Patch or not, but I will continue on. So we talked a little bit about expansion. If you are a Marlins fan or a Rays fan, comment, let us know what you think of the ballparks, particularly the Trop. In other baseball news, there's multiple reports out on a London series next year between the Mets and the Phillies. The Mets and the Phillies will play in London next year. The MLB's put on games in 2019 and last year, but because of COVID, did not happen. The Cardinals and Cubs are going to play in London next month, so that there is that as well. So London really gets some good series. Cardinals, Cubs this year. I think Yankees, Red Sox with the first, and then Mets, Phillies next year, by all accounts. So that's pretty good stuff right there. It got me thinking about other places I would like to see Major League Baseball, because there was a series in Mexico City a couple of weeks ago between the Giants and the Padres. Now we have London. I know a couple of years ago there was a game in Cuba during spring training. So I kind of like the idea of baseball kind of globalizing itself. They've also had series in Japan in the past. So baseball has really taken the globalization of the game and changing it up. So London will get the Mets and the Phillies next year. Patch is back after his internet wiped out.
It was happy that the Knicks won, so
it was happy that the Knicks won. I can't blame it. It was going to celebrate.
So I came back at a opportune time, as I'm the ultimate opportunist right now, coming in back at a time where you're discussing the London series that's going to happen next year.
Yeah, and next month the Cubs and Cardinals. So I was just thinking out loud, Patch, on places where I'd like to see a series potentially played, because baseball has been globalizing itself with the series in London and the series in Japan. And there was a Cuban spring training game a couple of years ago. So I don't know if it would ever happen, but I'd love to see a game, I think, in Italy. If you could play it near the Coliseum, make the Coliseum into a ballpark and try it. Let's see.
I mean, you can do that. I would say, bring it down to Australia.
Sure.
I would do, you know what? I would test the waters to South Korea.
Yeah, okay.
You know what? Montreal.
You know what they should do for Montreal, and this is going to sound weird unless they expand it. If you want to have the Nationals embrace the history of the Expos, the Nationals should have to play 1 to 2 series in Montreal a season.
I agree with that.
I don't know how that would work with scheduling or not, but that would be fun.
I mean, if baseball wants to come back to Montreal, why not put one of Toronto's affiliates in Montreal? Minor league affiliates, just
It's true.
bring it back
You
in
could
some way.
you could do that. So that there was a game years ago. I don't know if Patch you ever played this. There was a baseball game called MLB Slugfest.
Oh, MLB Slugfest, arcade classic, was one of my favorites growing up as a child.
You could play these games, regular teams, in all these different places. You could play underwater, as it was like Atlantis.
Yeah, I remember. Backyard baseball had the same thing too.
Backyard baseball. Pablo Sanchez.
The GOAT of all
That was
fictional
the
characters.
dude.
But yeah, like anywhere, there's many opportunities to bring baseball everywhere where it's probably never been done before. You know what? Bring to Cape Town, South Africa. Do something different. Go all the way. If we're looking, it might be a sore subject, but Saudi Arabia. If you're really, really looking.
Yeah, that one I can't see happening.
You never know in the world today. No one thought a wrestling company would be doing shows there every year, but
now knowing the person who sends them over there, more about them.
Well, yes, but like I say, your big ones you can do South Korea, Australia, Montreal. If you want to do, if I know we do the Field of Dreams game, just bring it to. Bring an MLB game to a minor league stadium.
That's kind of like what they had the Blue Jays do in 2020 when they played in Buffalo.
Yeah, when they were doing their games up and
I love the Field of Dreams game too. Those are epic stuff. It makes you think like there should be a game where I know they're the Guardians now, but I'm going to call them the Indians for this. The Indians should embrace the movie Major League.
Yeah, I think they do that occasionally here and there for a promotional night, but I agree with you.
Charlie Sheen throws out the first pitch.
Yeah.
All right. So where do you guys want to see a game expand to? Let us know. Comment, tell us. We'll listen. So big series coming for the weekend. We'll start in the Bronx because there's a nice 4-game set between the Rays and the Yankees this weekend. Last weekend, the Rays took 2 out of 3 in Tampa. The Yankees just swept the Oakland A's because, well, the A's are not good and they are not worth watching. And side tangent for a second. Dear Fox Sports or MLB Network, if you have any games on television that involve the Oakland A's, just cancel them. Just straight up cancel them. I don't want to watch the Oakland A's. They are not worth watching when I can say a little league team can defeat them.
Oof.
Sorry. When your run differential is as bad as theirs are, and they are 8-30 now. They're 8-30. So just for giggles, when you're on the ESPN app and you tap the game, they give you the win probability stuff. For tomorrow's game or Friday night's game between the Rangers and the A's have a 23% chance to win.
Okay, so I'm making sure you're saying the A's because I thought you were talking about not having the O's on TV.
No, I would love to watch the O's on TV.
Okay, because it seemed earlier you were talking about I don't want to watch the O's because they're bad.
No, we'll get to the O's because they got a fun series this weekend, but that's the A's. But we got Rays and Yankees this weekend in the Bronx. Aaron Judge is back for the Yankees as well after dealing with a hip issue.
I still like Tampa. Tampa may not have the fans might not be there for Tampa, but Tampa is still trying to get that, monkey off their back, win a World Series. And to me, I still think this is their division.
What I love about Tampa Bay year in and year out is they always play with a chip on their shoulder. Like, no one expects them to be what they are. And what they are, in a different sense of how I'll explain, they're the AL version of the Dodgers, what the Dodgers were. Because the Dodgers would take these guys, Justin Turner, Max Muncy, guys nobody, not that nobody wanted, but nobody thought they were going to be great, and they turned them around.
Well, that's what made what made the Rays farm system so good. They just relied on the farm system. Rely on your farm system. You take the risk on, the player that, experts say is not going to be, the next Derek Jeter, Chipper Jones, Max Scherzer, Clayton Kershaw pitchers or hitters. And then, those players, are like, what, this team's taking a chance with me. It might not be the ideal team I might want to be on, but, I'm going to prove myself and get myself up on the main roster. And we saw that with many former Tampa Bay Rays, Evan Longoria. The big name that comes to my mind is Evan Longoria. You got Josh Hamilton. Lots of things happened in Josh Hamilton's demise that led to his demise. But, Wade Davis, a bunch of players came through the Rays organization. Yes, they got the call up. But then, they got, when the Rays decided to get more prospects, what do? They trade away their players. And then those players go on to very prosperic careers.
Yeah. And when they realize they can't afford you, or they, not that they don't have a use, but they feel, you may overvalue yourself, they'll trade you and they'll get great pieces back. And, the Yankee-Ray rivalry's been good over the years, so
it's been getting a lot better. And then, looking at them right now, look at Yan Diaz and Randy Rosarina, both have 9 home runs right now. Rosarina's batting .319, and Rosarina has 30 RBIs. So the Rays are producing.
Rosarina's been great. Yandy Diaz, you talked about. Wander Franco, I think, is hitting near 300 as well. They're the complete package. Flip side, the Yankees. We know what they are. They rely on the home run ball. And Harrison Bader, since coming off the IL, has been excellent. So that's one for this weekend. 4 in the Bronx. Pat, you brought up the O, so we'll talk O's. I can't believe I'm saying this on May 10th. Pirates-Orioles in May has the potential to be a real fun series.
Who would have thought that these two teams would, with the Pirates leading the NL Central and the O's being, second in the AL East, would be where they're at, because, everyone thought that these teams were going to be, middle of the pack or, near the bottom. And they're not. O's are playing fantastic baseball. It's fun watching them, especially watch them grow from last year, where they were good last year. They were absolute garbage, but they played good baseball last year. Now they got a little bit better. They got a couple of nice prospects up on the main roster doing well. And, maybe the Pirates are finally coming out of the bottom from the NL Central, where, they've been, not that good the last few seasons because of unloading talent and all of that. It's just good to see the Pirates doing well too.
Yeah, for the O, Adley Rutschman's been awesome.
Doing great on my fantasy team. So.
Brian Mountcastle has 8 homers. Cedric the Entertainer, 28 RBIs. Austin Hayes is hitting 300. And then you flip it to the Pirates, who are still the best story in baseball, in my opinion. The return of Andrew McCutchen, he's got 7 homers. Brian Reynolds is having a nice year. And then they find ways. And these two teams are very similar to one another. not high expectations, but they're playing their butts off for their managers. And it took time for some of their young players to develop. So you have Pirates, Orioles. We got Braves, Blue Jays too. That's a heavyweight fight this weekend. Blue Jays are not playing their best right now. The Braves, I know they just put Max Fried on the injured list, but the Braves have been, for my money, the class of the National League since the start of the season.
I mean, it's really been just, and you know what? I'll put it this way. I think now with a pitch clock, I think games are being more competitive right now. It's not this long, drawn out 5-hour marathon of a baseball game.
Yeah, you're seeing games played now 2.5 hours, 2 hours. So Blue Jays, Braves this weekend, and Padres, Dodgers, which only will intensify after the Padres posted a Clayton Kershaw clip last week when they beat him up. And then the Dodgers won the next 2 games. So that rivalry will keep intensifying this weekend at Dodger Stadium.
That's my only beef right now, I think, with MLB is them always putting the Dodgers and the Padres on Sunday Night Baseball.
Well, it is not Sunday Night Baseball this week because
Sunday
night this week is Cardinals Red Sox.
That can be enjoyable, I believe.
And if the Cardinals can find a way out of the funk they've been in.
I mean, Boston's 22-16, and
they're playing pretty good ball. Did they win tonight?
Hold on. Let's go to the good old scorecard.
They did. They won 5-2 over the Braves. Good job. Proud of you, Red Sox. It means the Mets gain a game on the Braves, which is very important now.
Well, yes, for the Mets. Well, for the lone national fan of this network, it's just good to be there.
Well, they beat the Giants today. Wait, did they take 2 of 3 from the Giants, or did they sweep the Giants?
Well, they won 11-6 today. I know that. My phone kept blowing up because they kept scoring.
5-1. No, they took 2 of 3.
Hey, that's a series win.
That's a series win.
That's a
over
series
a
win,
Giants team that a lot of people liked coming into the year.
I mean,
they are currently 16-20.
I mean, and that's only 9 games back of top dog in the NL East. Anything's possible, But
some other intriguing series to watch this weekend. The Angels go to Cleveland to play the Guardians. The Cubs go to Minnesota to play the Twins. And the Astros go to Chicago to play the White Sox. So those are some fun series to watch.
Things are heating up in the month of May for baseball.
I'm telling you, we're hitting Memorial Day in a couple of weeks, and then it turns up.
And it's just
it gets turned, as the youths say nowadays.
As the youths say, it gets turned up in this place.
Turned
up in this place. These kids in their hip and their hops. The new Yang phrases.
The GIF that should be posted after this is released is the older guy with the skateboard who says, "Hello, fellow youths."
Hello, fellow youths.
Oh, all right. Patch, do you want to give the socials?
SI Unreal for the network. Well, let's go follow us on Twitter. Search us on Facebook, Sports Insanity Network, Sports Insanity Podcast, where this is through. And, go to the website, www.thesportsinsanitynetwork.com, to keep up with all the blogs, learn more about us and the network, how this network started, because it's a fun little journey. So, make sure you go to that website.
It's a journey that didn't stop believing.
And a journey that did not stop believing.
All right. For Lawrence Patch-Man Lang, I am Mike Griffin. Thank you for listening to Batter Up, sponsored by Halpern's Cards and Collectibles. We should be back with you Sunday morning to preview the next week in baseball. But until then, stay safe and Namaste.
Namaste. Say goodnight to your mama. Mama loves you. Say goodnight to Papa. Papa loves you too. Take care, guys.
Say goodnight to Mama because it's almost Mother's Day.
Yeah, make sure you say goodnight to Mama because, Mother's Day approaches this Sunday. Make sure you make her some breakfast in bed and get her some flowers.